Well, hello again. Welcome to Tattoos and Toddlers. I am Jen. I'm a wedding photographer, business owner, and a mom of a little kid. And I also have fun tattoo stories that we're starting to talk about on the podcast, where I bring a variety of guests on and we have fun talking about what the struggles are between running a business, being a parent or a caretaker, and then occasional fun tattoo stories that really have just, I've had a joy having all these conversations with people. It's been so much fun. So today I want to introduce you to my special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carin Hunt. I'm a former wedding planner, and more recently, I empower creative entrepreneurs to build businesses worth celebrating. And I have a 3.5-year-old son. Myself, my son, my husband, we all live in the Florida Keys, and it is hot. And there's like a heat advisory, and we're all melting. But we're staying cool, lots of summertime fun. And that, I mean, that is the short version of a long story. And we can definitely get into some of that today.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're just going to go right on into this because this whole podcast is about how we're balancing and integrating business and life together. And I guess one thing I did want to ask you right away is that were you a business owner before you became a parent? I know that I was.
Yeah, it was I went from a business owner to having my son and then back to a business owner. So there's a lot of story around that as far as parenting goes. And it was really, I had built my wedding planning business. I owned it for 7 years down here, destination, Florida Keys, all the things. And it was a blast. And I brought my business partner on about the last, it's like 3 or 4 years, the last portion of the business that I was a part of. And we were on the same value track, like same vision for everything, because we were both married to very similar men. So they had fun together, right? We were like this couple that would go out together. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, you're Tia Wendy now, right? And she's like, okay. And now I'm getting, morning sickness and like things like that were going on that she can't relate to, right? Just through pregnancy.
Yeah.
She's making fun of me because I'm eating, but we used to do mimosas at 5 p.m. every day. Like that was a big part of our business, was we celebrate every day. And
Yeah.
now, right, because I was pregnant, I wasn't able to do those things. And then when it came to the event planning, there were certain events I couldn't be at, whether I had doctor's appointments or I was just too big, or, then you have the baby and you can't be present for everything anymore. We were just talking about this at lunch the other day because I had lunch with her, and she's like, I remember, she's like, some of my favorite weddings were the ones that were your clients. And then she had to take them on because I had just had the baby, and I would show up wailing an arm to congratulate the bride. And she's like, it was such a nice touch to be able to do that,
Aw.
but I still wasn't able to stay all day.
Yeah.
And so that part was like the first half of what it looked like being a parent, just being a new parent and having a business and trying to juggle how does this baby fit in?
Yeah, like literally.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah. It was, yeah. And then you look forward a little bit more, and it was like COVID happened not long after I had him.
Hmm.
And that changed the whole landscape of the industry that we were in. And so we weren't really in the office much anymore. And I found myself leaning into the vendors more than the clients, because that's what I was working on. I was working on the details of the wedding. I wasn't face to face with the clients anymore.
Yeah.
And I really felt more more spirited working with the vendors, helping them to get the things that they needed. They were asking me how we were doing things in business and staying successful. We had already started networking events. We'd already started the wedding shows. Like, we did so much for our community with our business that was just like naturally the direction I went. And finally, my business partner had said, Carin, you seem to be going in a different direction. and you're not really like present anymore with, the planning part, like I was, but I wasn't, we couldn't see what each other were doing. The communication was difficult to
Yeah.
navigate through COVID. And really I was like, you know what? I'm ready to retire from planning. So I went into corporate. And the thing that happened there, and a big reason why I wasn't in corporate as long as I maybe anticipated or it could have been, was because having a toddler in daycare sick all the time. And the idea of, he was hospitalized at one point. And so
Oh
the
my
idea
gosh.
of like, I only have this much PTO, like you can only get sick for 2 weeks out of the year, right? And then we
It's
can't go on
true. And
vacation.
it's you, it's not your kid. They don't factor in like your kid doesn't get like 3 weeks of sick days.
Yeah, yeah. And so my husband and I are trying to juggle like whose PTO are we stealing from? What
Mm,
what are we doing for the holidays? That's the only time that we might even be able to leave. Like
wow.
it was the most stressful time of my life. And anytime I hear another mom who's like, oh, my kid gets sick all the time. And I'm like, do you work? Can we have this conversation? Because I have like PTSD from it. Anytime he's sick, I'm like, who's watching him? What do I have planned? What do I need to shift around? And it is a huge roadblock. And that was a big reason why I left corporate, was not only because like building Celebration Pros has always been a big piece of my heart, but
Yeah.
just for that freedom as a mom to be like, I can be home. He could be here if he needed to be.
I think
So
that's such an important way to look at it too, in the scope of the totality of where your life is going right now and how your kid fits into all this. And I think I know I had a lot of great examples before I became a parent of people who own their own businesses and they are doing it well. And so, unless I had an example to look to, I don't think I would have ever seen it as an opportunity. I would have just been stay at the 9 to 5 job. I don't know if I could have lasted as long as you did. I don't know how long you stayed at your corporate, but I was like,
no,
I don't know.
not that
I
long.
don't know if I could have lasted very long, very much because once you're a business owner, it is really difficult to like go backwards. I say backwards. That's not the right word. It's hard to shift back into corporate
Hmm.
unless your life is leading you that way.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of glad you came back because I love what you're doing now with your business ideas and moving forward and how it integrates into your parenting and how you're gonna have that time. I know that we have less than a month before my daughter starts school. So, and I know you have probably a little bit longer before like say real school. I say real school.
Right. Yeah. Not daycare.
Like, and this was my first year of real school this last year. And yeah, I gotta say, those early mornings and the drop off line kind of stuff. It was really funny. I had a conversation in the early episodes about another parent was like, yeah, I'm not one of those car line people. And I was like, I can understand why. Those car lines scare me.
Yeah.
But
Like
I'm so glad that we're going.
it's like a bunch of parents who haven't had coffee yet with kids
Yeah.
who didn't want to go to school. Like,
Yeah. And it's
what
not
could
like
go
they
wrong?
start at 9 in the morning. They're starting at 7:40. Our new hours, they just released our new hours. So we're starting at 7:40 with the doors opening at 7:15 for breakfast. So, and this takes me back to when I used to go to school and I was driving myself when I was old enough, obviously. I decided to stay at a little tiny school that was 23 miles away from my house, and I drove myself every single morning to basketball practice for a 7 a.m. basketball practice. And I look at that then and now, and I'm like, I don't know how or why I did that. But it's like, I'm just like I was saying, I was telling you this story, and this is for all the parents out there. I had a very hard parenting moment yesterday.
Yeah.
And I want to get into some funny stories if you've got some too of how parenting and business have mixed together. But yesterday was one of those days, y'all, where I had set an alarm for a nap, and I don't normally nap that late unless I've talked in detail about my husband's schedule and my schedule, so we know who's getting who from where. And so I had set an alarm for 5:30, and we usually get her at about 6:08. And I rolled over and my iPad was like, it was acting like I needed to hit snooze. And I was like, I never heard it go off. And it is 6:18 and I'm freaking out because the doors close at 6:30. So I'm freaking out. I'm running through the house. He's like, well, I was gonna, I thought I heard him say I can go get her, or do you got her or something. So I'm like, yeah, I got her. And so I ran out the house, go to the daycare, and they're staring at me like, honey, daddy, daddy came to get her at 5:30, 5:40. And I'm sitting here like, huh? So I had no idea she was already home. No idea she was already home. I ran back home. I'm so glad we live like literally across the street from the daycare, because I literally was spaced out of my mind, still sleepy. And then I get home and she's sitting in her room just waiting on me. And I'm just sitting here like, if y'all could see
Like,
me
Mom, what's going on? Where did you
rubbing
go?
my face right now. And then so this morning when I dropped her off, I said, I did one of those. So what happened was,
Yep.
and I do have to laugh at myself, but yesterday I was like having a moment. Like, I think it took me an hour to get out of that nap mode that I was in. And I've got kittens, and so that's another form of parenting, that
Yeah.
they're up at all hours of the night because that's their cats and they do that. But the one of them has decided to jump on the dresser a lot, so it always wakes me up. I'm the person that is a somewhat light sleeper, and unless I have something dampening all the noises, then I'll wake up. So
Sounds
all
like you
that to
needed the
say,
sleep though.
huh?
So it sounds like you needed the sleep then.
I so needed the sleep. And then I was at a 3-hour event just networking with people. And I was like, you know what
Oh,
sounds
that's a
really
long
good? A
time.
nap.
Yeah, 3 hours of networking is exhausting.
Yes.
Introvert,
And it
extrovert, I
was
don't
a
think it
great
matters.
meeting, though. Great meeting, but it ran long. And I was ever
Yeah.
so grateful to see so many wonderful people in the room. So it was nice to see everybody. But yeah, I came home, and then that was my parenting moment. And I was just like, okay, wow, this is crazy. So I would love to hear like one or two funny stories that maybe you've had happen, recently, when you're trying to juggle all of these things
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
think you have something going on and it's shifted, you just please tell me something. You got some funny stories. I know you do.
there's plenty of times where I've taken Waylon to school and I get home and out of nowhere I'll be like, where's Waylon? Like, where's the baby? Where like, and I'm like, oh no, he's at school. He's okay. And like some days he's at the daycare, some days he's at his babysitter, some days he's at my mom's. And my husband has gone to daycare before to pick him up, and then he'll call me and be like, is Waylon at daycare? Like, where is he today? Like, where in the world is our son? I don't know.
Oh my
But
gosh.
so there's I think we all run into that scenario, every so often. But lately what's been I don't know if it's funny or what it is, but he's coming up with all of these words. Like we took him to I live in the Florida Keys. There's not a lot of options for doctors or dentists or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get him to an integrative doctor. Um, just to see, like, I like to do some holistic things. I've also
Yeah.
grown up with Western medicine. So I was like, let's do integrative and see where that goes. So I take him up to Miami Beach, which is like far, far away land for me. And on the way, he's like, I don't want to go to the doctor, this and that. And I was like, well, this is the good doctor. They're going to teach us what type of morning candy you can have, because that's what we call his
Of
vitamin C.
course. Yeah. We have the
No,
gummies.
the bribery.
Yes.
So he goes, this is going to be so impressive. And I'm like, what did you just say? Did you just say impressive? I'm like, I'm impressed. So he's coming up with all these
That
big
is
words.
so cute. Three
He
and a
said,
half
oh
years
my
old, right?
gracious. He's 3.5 years old. He said, oh my gracious the other day.
Oh,
And
that
I'm like,
is
these are great
cute.
Scrabble words. Like, give me some more 10, like, and like instead of saying I'm so mad, he goes, I'm so frustrated, Mom. I'm so frustrated. I'm like, these words, it's so funny. So, I think they just like surprise you with the things. And like his best friend is Wild Child. He is just so much energy, has no fear, like all these things. And then Waylon, my son, he's very like he won't jump in off the side of the pool. He wants his
Oh,
swimming. Today is actually his first swim lesson. So we're doing that at 2 o'clock today.
that's another thing I need to get done this before school is try to get him in a
Yeah.
few lessons. Oh,
Yep. So that's really exciting. But it's like he's very timid around like athletic type activities. And so I really want to start getting him, but at least his best friend is like wild child. So they kind of like mellow each other out too. Like that
That's a
yin and
really
yang.
good point too. Like,
Mhm.
I remember during COVID, I know your kiddo was probably really young, but mine was just turning 3 the year of
Mhm.
COVID. So it was really, I had already started getting her around other kids because I felt because she's going to be an only child that she really needed some other people in her life to push her buttons or teach her and help her and help her grow as a person. And so
Mhm.
it's just funny to see all the different kinds of people that she hangs out with. And especially at this, we have the school friends and then we have daycare friends because apparently none of them ever mix currently, but they used
Okay.
to. So her and her bestie would hang out and they would just be all you know, all over each other, talking to each other, totally different energies. Her bestie had an older sister, so she was much more fluent with a sibling. Like she
Mhm.
felt a little bit more grown up, I guess. So it was always very interesting to see the difference and knowing that my kid is going to grow up without a sibling. And I'm thinking about ways to get her out around other kids. So it's really
Yeah.
nice. It's really
I
nice
mean,
to think about their
we're one and
besties.
done. Yeah, we're Waylon is are the only one planned anyways. And
Yeah.
we were so excited that he found his best friend is also an only child as of right now.
Oh.
So they're like they act like brothers. And I'm like, I'm so glad that he found like this person that he can because they're like you're saying, like totally opposite energies, very sibling like. And he's a little bit older, the best friend. So he like
Oh.
is Waylon's keeper and they like don't like neither of them like to go to school if the other one's not going to be there. So like the moms are always texting, like, are they is the other one going to be there at school today? And do you want to get together
Aw.
and all this? So that's been fun, like as they grow up to see the friendships that are made. And my best friend, we met when I was in first grade.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I love telling the story because we were on the bus. We were both going to a new school and didn't know each other on the same bus. And I sat at the very back because I was being shy. And she walks to the back and says, "Hi, I'm Kimberly. Will you be my best friend?" I was like, "Okay." And literally, like to this day, we were just talking yesterday because our families are getting together. Like we've been best friends all this time. And so I've always had that like vision. And my husband reminds me, he's like, that's not typical.
It really
Like it
isn't.
likely won't happen for Waylon, but we can try.
And this reminds me of a good segue into expectations that we have for our
Mm,
kids, right? Like, just as we're talking here and we're talking about relationships, friendships, and we as business owners have relationships and friendships, and then we also have our
yeah,
partners and marriages and things like that, and we have our kid relationships. So one thing I was thinking about was, and now it's left my head. Oh, how I grew up, right? Like how I grew up was moving a lot as a young kid. Like I moved a lot, moved schools a lot when I was in school. I did have a sister. Um, and so I assumed this is where it gets really funny, right? Like you're assuming that your kid's life will be what I would consider stable, right?
right.
Um, and the what happens when we get her into kindergarten is she rotates 3 teachers. And I thought to myself, wow, this is really disheartening. And it's a little stressful because you're not sure how your kid is feeling at 5 years old. And you're like, what are their
Right.
real feelings? Are they upset? Is their foundation shook a little bit? Stuff like that. This is the things that I didn't think about as a 5-year-old. You just go and you get stuff done. But I remember when we got the news that the first teacher left, all the kids were upset. Like that's what we were hearing from, the school is that everybody was upset. And then they tried a second teacher. She stayed a week. And then they just told us, listen, we're going to wait till we find the right person. And then we'll let you know when the official teacher is put in place. So
Yeah.
I feel like a few weeks went by and they had a skeleton crew of people working with the class to make sure everything was being met, all the
The
reading, the
curriculum, yeah.
writing, all the things. And we finally got our third teacher in. And I thought to myself, what was I thinking she would have stability? And I was like,
Yeah.
without challenges of life, how would we ever know that we could overcome them? Or how would we know that we're challenged by something in our life that we cannot control, that we have to walk through? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought it was really funny that I had this assumption that just because I picked the school and that we weren't moving every 6 to 8 months, that she would have the stability. And in my head, I was like, just what you were saying, she's going to have that one best friend. They're going to go to school forever together. And wow, that was not the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
even now, there's stuff shifting in the school of who's coming back this year, because we're doing 4 days a week instead of a normal 5 days. And so they're trying this out. And a lot of schools here, and I don't know if in your area, but in Texas, there's a lot of different schools trying it in some areas, I've heard. So this is a whole new thing coming up. So, obviously as our kids grow, we kind of have to grow with them and kind of like see things that we wouldn't normally see. So I'm wondering if, as you've been walking out this parenting journey, is there reflections like you just shared? There is a reflection of your childhood into his childhood. And I'm wondering if you see that kind of continuing forward. Like, is there any chance of the foundation being shaken up because you
oh
maybe
yeah.
decide to move somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened to me was in high school. Well, first of all, was that day, right, where I met my forever best friend. So
Oh,
there's like, had we not switched schools, I never would have met her. And she's such a like rock for me. Um, but it was weird for me to be like, oh, I'm going to a new school and now I'm riding the bus, because before my school was 2 blocks away, my mom would
oh
just drive me,
yeah.
right? So like the things that were consistent were no longer the norm. Now consistency looked different. Now it was waking up and getting on the bus and like and so I think about that with when I moved. We lived in like the south of South Miami. It's called Cutler Ridge, Cutler Bay now. Like it, if you know the area, you know the area. So, anyways, we moved from there and we moved down to the Keys, and I knew one person in the school who happened to end up being like prom king. Like I was literally sitting at the most popular table, and I'm like, I don't fit in here. But like I moved and I was like, this is exciting, but I'm also really upset because I'm leaving all my friends, but I'm excited to like have a new experience. And like it shook my world, totally shook my world. I was moving into a small town from a big city, right? So what does that look like? All these people knew each other. They all already
They
had their
do.
friends. They're in
Yep.
high school now, right? And like I'm moving to this small town. I know one person. Little did I know, I really probably should have just stayed as close as possible to him, which we're very close now, with funny enough. But anyways, during that time, I just felt so lost. I didn't know which direction I wanted to go in. And I honestly, like me as a person, I always went against the grain. Like my natural way was to go opposite of the way everybody else went. So that wasn't helpful for me either, right? And that consistency was no longer there, and I had to learn what the new consistency meant. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
what do my days look like? What is this routine? What are the new possibilities, and who are the new people that I have around me? And that's something too to like really instill in the kids, because I talk about this in the business side, is
Yeah.
who is it that's surrounding you, that's supporting the best version of you? And like you can think about that in your business for your business goals, but what about for the kids in their life? Like who is surrounding them, and how can we communicate with them? Like, hey, this is actually really important to get you to where you want to go. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just think that a lot of what we apply, even in business, can be so relative to what we do in life, and it can kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. I felt like being a business owner made me appreciate calendars and time. Because I felt like being a parent, I walked into it already knowing how to figure out time of my day, like
Mhm.
designating time for certain things. And obviously when they're a newborn, it's pretty much, it feels like fight or flight kind of a feeling, because you're trying to just keep them alive, right? At least I was trying to keep myself alive and my kid alive.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna say two-way street.
Yeah. And so, and I felt like my time management, because I was a business owner for about 12 years, my time management it was a good headspace to be in to be a parent. And so I felt like it helped me be a little bit better of a parent to have started a business. So it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's pretty cool to think about like how they all run together. Like being a business owner is a lot of time management because you're managing yourself. And I think that's the shift for so many people that
Yeah.
go from corporate into owning your own business. Is I had 3 months. It took me about 3 months to figure out how to run myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw this. I'm a big fan of Jasmine Star.
Right.
I talk about her all the time. And she posted, I think it was yesterday, she's like, all the entrepreneurs who left their 40-hour work week to work 80 hours.
Yeah, it's
Like,
true.
yep, that's about it.
It's true. I see all the funny memes pop up, and it's really, really funny to see that happen. And because it's true, and I know that we live it, but and I think you and I agree, we're both very passionate about what we're doing, and we
Mhm.
know that parenting is one thing of our lives that's awesome, and then we also run our businesses and our passions, and I think that's a very valid passion as well that takes up our time. And then we also have our relationships that all of our I just love that you have your little friend that you've had forever.
Yeah.
you know I used to write letters to all of my friends because I would, oh, hey, I'm living in Georgia now, or hey, I'm living in South Dakota. And I'd like, write all my friends that I did kind of stick in my life for a while. But
Yeah.
as we're starting to round out this episode, I don't recall if we talked about any tattoo stories.
Yeah. So the funny thing about children is they will look at your body and say, why do you have a turtle on you, mom? Like because they don't like the concept of tattoos isn't like they just think like, oh, mom's got cartoons on her. Um, and so I have down my side, I originally thought I was going to be a marine biologist when I was in high school, of course, living on islands. That's kind of a lot
Yeah.
about that. I'm terrible at math. So, and I know we're supposed to like not say you're supposed to be like, I'm not good at math yet. No, it's not a part of my language. My brother's a CPA. He got all of those brain cells. But anyway, so but I really loved diving, and we would go down to the Dry Tortugas with our class. It was actually like an internship portion of our marine studies class in high school. We went 2 years in a row to the Dry Tortugas, and we saw water spouts on the water, which are like
Okay.
they're like tornadoes over the water. Yep. We went swimming with sharks. We saw sea turtles. We saw all these different fish. There was one fish, the one on Finding Nemo that's like bubbles.
Yes.
Type of fish. And it chased me, blowing bubbles into the boat. Like this was before Finding Nemo. So
Oh
like
my
that's I'm like,
gosh.
oh, it's my fish. So anyway, so I have this whole tattoo. It's a water spout of all these animals swimming in a spiral around it. So that's on my side. And then I also have a tattoo I got when I was 18, which is a sweet pea flower. So of course, when my son sees these things, he's like a flower in this because he can identify what they are. And then my husband has tattoos all over his body. And when we do like stick on tattoos, he's like, I have tattoos like daddy. So my best friend bought him one of those shirts that have the like transparent sleeves,
Yes.
the mesh
Yes.
sleeves that look like tattoos. And he gets all excited that he's like daddy. So Lord knows that when he gets older, he'll
A
have his
legitimate
tattoos.
tattoos and
Yeah.
toddler moment right there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's really special. And all every tattoo has a meaning behind it. And I that would be like my biggest advice. My mom told me, she's like, wait 6 months. Like, if you have an idea for a tattoo, wait for six
Yes.
months. Make sure it's really what you want. And originally I'm a Taurus, so I wanted a bull where my sweet pea tattoo is. And my parents were paying for it and were part of it because it was like my coming of age, like
Gotcha.
present type of thing. And they're like, we don't want you to have like riding a bull on your on your body. Like, this is not what we envisioned. So I'm pretty happy with our decision to do a sweet pea flower instead. It definitely fits my personality
Well,
more.
that's a very unique situation where the parents are a part of that process. And I
Yeah,
can see
yeah.
myself doing that with my kid.
Hmm.
all the decisions I made, I was 18 and up. So I was pretty much of age to do any kind of tattoo I
Right.
wanted as long as I had the funds for it. But part of my journey was when I started getting tattoos, it was illegal in Oklahoma at the time. So
Oh,
I literally
wow.
had to drive to Kansas to get my first tattoos.
I live in Florida where everything's legal.
Exactly, exactly. So it
So,
was so funny. It's so funny to tell that story because a lot of people don't realize there was a time in Oklahoma where you could not
yeah.
get tattoos and tattoo parlors were not supposed to be open. And my roommate was from New Mexico, and again, completely different state. She's like, "Yeah, it's no big deal. We'll just get in the car and go to New Mexico." And I mean, go to Kansas. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that talk about a new adventure without my parents. And then
Yeah. Crossing state
trusting in my
lines.
brand new college roommate who I barely knew. But you know what? I still remember her name. I remember her tattoo. Um, Occasionally, you know how you remember that person and you kind of want to like Google them and see if they still exist.
Yeah, right? Like, what are they up to now?
Like,
For
are they doing the
sure.
thing that they did that they said they were going to do in college, you know?
Hmm. Probably not, no.
Oh my gosh. Well, so we are about to run out of time on this
Yeah,
episode. So
yeah.
why don't we go ahead and wrap up with something inspirational that we can leave everybody with today regarding our businesses and parenting and how much of a joy it is, but how awesome it also is. You just, we have the ups and the downs and the sideways and the tilts and the diagonals. So anything you want to leave us with today?
Sure. There's a quote that I saw, like literally, I was like scrolling on Facebook as we do, and this quote came up so many times. And I think that this can be applied again to parenthood, to business. And it was, oh, let me see if I can look it up. It was basically like competition, collaboration over competition. Let me see if
Oh,
I can
or
pull
like
it up very quickly.
community over competition or community I love collaboration a lot.
Here, yeah, I posted it in my group. Competition happens at the bottom. The people at the top are collaborating.
Yeah.
And so I think, when it comes to kids, remember it takes a village. Like you don't, even if you're an only parent, if you have a full family, if you have one kid or 10 kids, like there's a whole bunch of there's a bunch of us out there that are excited to like meet up with you at the park or to help you throw your kid's birthday party or to, maybe you have aspirations and you need another mom to do like to run beside you. Like that tribe is out there for you. And the same in business is like we all feel like as entrepreneurs that this is a solo endeavor. And I think that like in the end, we all hope to have teams. But as we feel like we're doing it solo, there's so many resources. And just like Jen and I are doing today, like collaborate, get to know each other. Like the two of us, I mean, we can chat forever off and on podcast apparently. um but yeah, I really do think just in that collaboration, like how can we all move forward together, and how can we apply that in out of business in our lives and all the things.
I think that's a beautiful way to end this episode. A great reminder for all of us that we are actually not alone. And even when it feels like it, I guarantee you somebody out there needs to hear from you or vice versa.
Mhm.
So speak up, use your voice, ask for help when you need it. And I was
Yep.
so glad to have you on today, Carin. It's been
Yes,
amazing.
Jen.
And
I'm like so thrilled that we've connected and done all this
yeah,
together.
I'm very excited. And we will see you on the next episode. So until next time.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.